War, but now we know it as World War One. And she was saying they could go off and become heroes and face death and feel like they had a different kind of experience than the one she had, where she had to basically sit and sew. And she wanted to be an activist, and she was, but her role was very constrained at the time. And as a African American woman, it's even more ironic that she's talking about how people are faced with death in war when she, who later became active in anti-lynching efforts, faced death all the time, or that threat in her community. So there's this bitterness underneath her words, not only about being stuck with domestic work, but also as if she didn't understand what death was. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about that. Do you want me to read it again, just so that I think I stumbled in one spot.
If I hold this up, can you see it, Clara, so that you don't have to look down?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Okay.
Do that, because I think.
Okay, and I can introduce myself and her again, just so that it can be seamless. You can just take out the clip if you want.
Okay.
Okay, you need to pull it down now. I can't see the words anymore. Okay. Pull it up a tiny bit, up, and then a little bit, not actually down a tiny bit. Okay, now I can see it. Great. Okay. But I still will introduce her again, if that's okay. Okay. So I'm Clara Silverstein. I'm with Historic Newton, and I'd like to read a poem today by Alice Dunbar Nelson. She was a poet, short story writer, playwright, and journalist, writing about civil rights and women's suffrage. Her books are no longer in print, but her poems are in the public domain. And I'd like to read the first stanza of I Sit and Sew. I sit and sew, a useless task it seems. My hands grown tired, my head weighed down with dreams. The panoply of war, the martial tread of men, grim-faced, stern-eyed, gazing beyond the ken of lesser souls whose eyes have not seen death, nor learned to hold their lives but as a breath. But I must sit and sew. So can't you hear the frustration in that? She seems really annoyed by being constrained by what women are supposed to do. They sit and sew, while men go off to war and fight and are seen as heroes. In this case, she was probably talking about World War One, at the time called the Great War. And she seems to also realize there's this bitter irony underneath her words that as an African American woman, she certainly did face the threat of death at that time. She was later active in anti-lynching efforts. So the thought that men were facing death and seen as heroes, something that women couldn't relate to, was totally false. And I believe that's underneath her words, along with that total frustration about not being able to do more than sit and sew. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah. Very nice.
Okay, I think that was better.
Oh, yeah.
I know I still stumbled on that one word, but oh well.
Doesn't matter.
And if she was in our workshop, we would say, can you fix that line? It's a little hard to read.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, beautiful reading. I mean, just beautiful reading, Clara. I mean,
okay, good. And you know, having it up there on the screen was better, I think, because then I was looking up the whole time. Yeah. So, and you know, then I just went into what I had to say about her. Let's see. So what should I talk about next?
So
I decided, you know what, I also decided that in this case, I didn't want to talk about Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Okay.
Yeah, that is interesting for people, but I feel like, you know, if she's standing on her own right, let me not mention her ex-husband.
Okay. Okay,
So,
okay.
right.
So, we can either do that now. I'd like you to do that little piece about Park, just that she was uh, she was active in Newton. I think I sent you a little bit of information about her. I can send it again, but that she was. Why don't I send you the information? And you can just take a look at it, and then we can do a quick clip with what you think is important.
Okay, sure.
I don't think, I think the fact that she graduated from Radcliffe in 1898 and was only one of two women who were in favor of right for women's voting is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, send it to the newtonma.gov email.
Okay,
Because I've got that up on another screen, so I can just get right to it.
all right.
And I do want to say a little bit about the suffrage meeting in Newton. People would meet in each other's homes and
Yes,
this kind of thing. And then I can lead into, and there was a meeting at the home, let's see, in 1913 at the home of Edith Garrison, who was married to William Lloyd Garrison Jr. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Okay. So, did you send it? Let me.
send that right over. Okay.
Okay, because I can look for it and print it out. Oh, I don't see it yet.
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, okay, fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm curious about George Ellis, the one who was opposed to suffrage. I thought that was interesting. Um, and that he was a prominent Newtonite, Newtonian. Um, he was a state legislator. He was on the board of aldermen. He owned a dairy farm, so he was the old guard. And
Right.
then she was answering him. But I think there were women who opposed suffrage, obviously, at Radcliffe. So I think that was part of it. Um, Even like in the sports world, it was super sexist. Remember, the Boston Marathon wouldn't allow women for a long time. And there was this sexist idea that running would be bad for women's reproductive organs. Anyway, all right, here it is. Uh, so one of the things that happened in Newton in terms of the suffrage movement was that people would meet in each other's homes to talk about the issue. And one of the things we talk about at work is that we're looking at 19th century, well, actually, this is 20th century, so let me start again. In Newton, one of the things that the activists for suffrage did was meet in each other's homes to discuss the issues. And one of the things we talk about sometimes is trying to view the issues of the 20th century with 21st century eyes. It's hard to imagine that people were opposed to women's suffrage, but there was quite a bit of opposition. There was a meeting in 1913 at the home of Edith Garrison. We had to dig for her first name because we have an invitation for this meeting where she's referred to as Mrs. William Lloyd Garrison Jr. So she's the daughter-in-law of the famous William Lloyd Garrison, the staunch abolitionist. They lived in West Newton, and they hosted a meeting of the Newton Equal Franchise Association. And at this meeting, the representative, he was a state representative from Newton. He also had been on the board of aldermen, and he was a farmer on the Wawanette Dairy Farm. Representative George Ellis was opposed to women's suffrage, and answering him was Maud Wood Park, who was very active in the women's rights movement. She had gone to Radcliffe, where she was one of only 2 students in a class of 72 to favor the woman's vote. So that tells you something about how much opposition there was, even among women. And she ended up being the first president of the League of Women Voters. And she also had a collection of papers that became the basis of what's now the Schlesinger Library at Radcliffe. So she ended up having a very prominent public life. And at the beginning, she was really in the vanguard of people who did support suffrage. Okay.
Very nice. Very
Okay. All right. I think I got that down.
I think you nailed it.
Good. All right.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I think, oh, do you want me to talk about Electa Walton?
Yeah, just I would do that briefly because there was some Newton connection there with
She did live in Newton, yeah.
and I forget what the thing was about her, but
She founded the West Newton Women's Education Club. But this is kind of an interesting factoid, is that women won the right to vote and serve on school committees before they won the right to vote in national and local elections. So she was involved in that effort. And then she went on, let's see, I think she, well, she led women's clubs in Newton. I don't know about suffrage, but you know, I can just say she was involved in women's clubs in Newton. Okay. One Newton resident that's of interest to us for the history of suffrage is Electa Walton. She was the president of the West Newton Women's Educational Club. And one of the things that she was advocating for was women won the right to vote on school committees and serve on school committees before they won the right to vote in national and local elections. So she was active with the women's movement in those ways and continued her activism throughout her life. She also was a mathematics teacher and published an arithmetic book, which is still available if you order it online.
very nice.
Okay, all right.
You nailed that one too. Awesome.
Good, okay. So there's one other thing that might be fun to read, is that quote from Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who spoke at the Newton Equal Suffrage League in 1909.
Yeah, what was the quote again, Clara?
She inspired every woman present to cultivate every endowment she possessed, to stand loyally a sister to every woman, to devote all her God-endowed power for freedom, to work with hand and brain for the enfranchisement of woman, and to be patient a little longer with the domination of mere man.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
It's a little long. I could say she inspired every woman present to stand loyally a sister to every woman, you know, and skip some of it. But I wish you had it so you could hold it up for me, because I'm not going to be able to read it without.
I'm just wondering what I feel with that. I mean, when you read it, it felt so highfalutin, and so I wasn't sure whether to laugh or not. I'm not sure
Oh, I think it's funny.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Just, you know, I can say something like they really had a high level to their rhetoric, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know that much about Charlotte Perkins Gilman herself, but you know, she was a leader of the suffrage movement. I can say that.
Yes, and I think we have some. We're reading some poems by her, so that is. Let me see if I can print this out. Yeah, I can copy this. Let's see. There we go.
Oh, can you hold it up? That'd be great.
I'm going to, yeah.
Good. The teleprompter, the low-tech teleprompter.
Yeah, low-tech teleprompter.
Right.
Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Just bear with me a second.
Yeah, that's fine. I did the same. I feel like there was a whole crowd of authors at the time who were advocating for suffrage. Um, some of them wrote so many different things. Hmm, who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic? Because she was a Massachusetts resident.
Yes, 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 yes. So we're gonna, yes, she was, and then that became a song that the different words for the suffrage movement, they took the music and
Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
we're actually going to use that. And then it became
good,
another ballad for labor rights, and then it was used again in the 70s for the women's movement. So they had this history of the music being used with different words.
right. Because that good. So you're on to her. That's good.
I'm going to go get this printout.
Okay, great.
I love the mere man at the end.
The which one?
With the domination of mere man.
Oh, I know. I love that. That's really funny. Right. Um, okay. Oh, good. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm recording. Okay.
Okay. Um, the group, the Newton Women's Equal Suffrage League, held meetings, and we have records of their minutes. And they often invited guest speakers. And in 1909, they invited Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who was very active in the suffrage movement. She had a national reputation. And at the meeting, this is what was written in the minutes book after she spoke. She inspired every woman present to cultivate every endowment she possessed, to stand loyally, a sister to every woman, to devote all her God endowed power for freedom, to work with hand and brain for the enfranchisement of women, and to be patient a little longer with the domination of mere man. So you can see from that there was some highfalutin language and rhetoric, but I do believe she got her point across.
Okay. Thank you, Clara.
Okay, good. So I did say Newton Equal Suffrage League, right? That was the group. Yeah.